Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, guys.
So, what do we got going on today? Well, we are 1 week away from the big update and forced wipe, and there is a shit ton of quality of life changes, some fixes, and some other stuff coming on in. Now, if you're tuning in today going, hey, wait, is it forced wipe today? No, it is not. It has been for Thursdays since the last one, but we have one of those special months where there is 5 Thursdays. And as you may or may not be aware, when there's 5 Thursdays in a month, well, we wait an extra week for the update and forced wipe. Before we get into it, with regards to server wipes going on today, well, for Rustafied servers, when we do have a 5 Thursday month, we've got the weekly and bi-weekly Thursday wipe servers wiping today. And of course, the bi-weekly servers will only have a 1 week wipe cycle until next week when the update will force a wipe. No blueprint wipes today, no sign of a forced blueprint wipe next week. However, many servers, including most Rustified servers, do choose to wipe blueprints when the update hits and forces a map wipe. The exception for blueprint wipes on Rustified servers is the US and EU Medium 3, Long 3, and Zen Labs servers. So if you're interested in not having your blueprints wiped every month, check out those servers. And let's get into it. Oh, also, if you have any questions as we're going through, as always, feel free to do Misty underscore that's me in chat, and we'll get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. Also, feel free to follow along today on rustified.com. I have an article there which summarizes all this in text and pictures as we do every week. But this week, there is a lot going on, a lot of list items, and just a ton of stuff. So I'm going to just get into it and we'll run through. And again, feel free to ask any questions you have at misd underscore that's me in chat. First and foremost, Rust is on sale until June 3rd. So that's part of the Steam Open World Survival Crafting Fest. And it's 50% off. So grab it for a friend, or I'm not going to go into the other reasons some people might grab it, but grab it for a friend. Let's leave it at that. Well, it's on sale till June 3rd. Also, there is the whole Twitch drop campaign, and that's going on for another day. They did, for people trying to get the metal chest plate and couldn't get it, they did just earlier today open that up to make it eligible as a drop for a bunch of other streamers. So check out X or Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days for more information on that. But you got one more day for all those twitchy drops. So let's get into some of this quality of life, because that is the big focal point, it does seem, in development this week, and in fact, shaping up to be this month. Just a slew of miscellaneous quality of life changes coming on in. We're over here on the normal staging branch. Some of these are on the aux 2 branch, and so we're not able to show all of them off. And given that it's not completely clear if all of these things will come in for the update next week, I get the sense pretty much all of them will. But given some are being merged to aux 2, it makes me think maybe not. So take it with a grain of salt. We'll, of course, be back next week with some more specifics on what is and is not coming in the update. But let's get into it first and foremost. And this is one of the things on the aux 2 branch at the moment, so we're not able to show it off. But barricades at monuments, they can now be placed at monuments on terrain. And there was a change to this. Originally, you could place them all over monuments, and some people were hypothesizing you could use them then to boost up onto other areas and accomplish some jumps you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. However, just yesterday they did tweak that, or maybe the day before, but they made it so you can only place the barricades in monuments on terrain. So not on any concrete or buildings or anything like that. And then also barricades at monuments when placed are going to be more fragile, so they'll break easier and they'll decay faster in about 15 minutes, I believe. So that is barricades at monuments, and that should help you with your PvP encounters at monuments, take more cover, and all that good stuff. Again, it's on Aux 2, so not 100% if this will make it in for the update next week, but I feel like it will. I feel like this is one of the bigger ones. I'm not sure why they put it on Aux 2, but maybe just for some more internal testing before it gets on the staging branch. Now, also, this is a cool one. We've had this on our servers for a while now as a quality of life for all of our players, but I'm very happy to see this get turned into a default vanilla feature, and that is the disconnect grace period. And basically, what that does is it allows players to skip the queue when joining a server for 5 minutes after they are disconnected. So if you get disconnected from a full server, it will hold your spot for 5 minutes and you'll be able to get in without a queue. It looks like this grace period, CVAR, you can change, server owners will be able to change that 5 minute period, but by default it's 5 minutes. And we're going to keep it vanilla. In fact, that's what we've been running on our servers for a while. We had a separate plugin that gives that 5 minute grace period. But it's always nice as a server owner to be able to toss out a plugin and just have it be part of the vanilla gameplay. So that is the disconnect grace period. Also, finally, horses are able to reverse. They're able to travel backwards now at half speed. And they also made it so that the armor slows them down less than before. So a bit of a buff on horse armor, along with the ability to actually back that horse up, which is nice. We've also got some changes to workbench access, and this is a pretty cool one. So basically, you can open and unlock text from lower tiers of a workbench when using a higher tier. So if you're, say, using a tier 3 workbench, you can now access tier 1 and tier 2 along with the tier 3 tech trees. So that's really nice. You just have the option, it's just the button right there in the UI to access whichever tier of tech tree you like from that higher tier workbench. So really nice there. And this is one that wasn't the most popular. It was listed as quality of life, so I'm listing it as quality of life, but it wasn't the most popular one received. But it is tool cupboard storage changes, which basically now block the following items from being stored in tool cupboards. And these items include sulfur ore, sulfur, gunpowder, explosives, diesel, cameras, and laptops. So unfortunately, no more putting those in your tool cupboard storage. They've also got some new visuals coming in for building blocked. Now, this is not on the normal staging yet. This is on Aux 2. So it's one of those ones that might not make it in, but it is a pretty cool one where basically when you have your building plan out and you're near a monument or a cave, it will show a sphere effect around so you can see exactly where the building blocked radius is. So it's just this, and we've got a little video here from Jake where you can kind of see that there's this kind of red sphere, this red outline that shows where things are blocked. And then you can easily tell when you're right near a monument or a cave where you can place things and where you cannot. They've also tweaked some of the building block radius stuff for monuments, and I'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, again, this one's on Aux 2, so not 100% that's going to make it in for next week, but a pretty cool one. They've also got some changes to helicopters where basically they will no longer roll on slopes if the engine is off and nobody is mounted. So basically, the helicopters will apply kind of a virtual handbrake. And so if you park a helicopter on a slope or something like that, it ideally will not just slide away. They've also added wire slacking, which while you've got the wire tool out, you can hold left shift and scroll your mouse wheel while placing wires, and that will add slack to the line. Now, this doesn't really do much from a utility standpoint, functionality standpoint, but it is a nice effect because when you see wires in real life, very often they have some slack to them. They're not normally super taut. So now you can have wires like if you're going to a ceiling light or something like that, the wires can kind of hang from the ceiling a little bit. So it's just kind of a nice effect, but really doesn't change anything with the, functionality of the wires, so to speak. There's also for you planters and farmers out there in Rust, there's a really cool new thing where you can basically just hold sprint when you're working with a planter. And if you hold sprint while placing items in the planter, it will just fill all vacant slots in the planter with the selected seeds. So you can just place one seed down, but then hold sprint, and it'll fill up the entire planter. So you don't have to go through the whole planter individually planting seeds. So that's nice. Also, and we saw this one last week, but it did make its way into staging, is the smaller medium battery size. So the size of the medium battery was reduced by 15%. And that basically was done to balance them against large batteries and make them fit under half walls. So if you're building like a solo base or something like that, and space is really precious, that medium battery will now fit under half walls and give you a lot more room to put other things, which is nice. They also did buff the salvaged hammer, where the long and short is it's basically just destroying every barrel in 2 hits now. It's doing more damage to deployed objects like barrels around the map and stuff like that. So if you got a salvaged hammer, it will be a more viable tool for gathering barrels around the map and things like that. They've also, for workbenches, or I'm sorry, repair benches, made it so that when skinned items are added to a repair bench, it now shows the name of the skin. So you can actually get some insight into what the name of that skin is when it's on the repair bench. And also, in the realm of Hammer UI, they've done a thing where it basically, to reduce misclicks, it's always going to show demolish and rotate option on the hammer, but just gray them out if they're not an option. And what this does is in that radial menu makes it so all the options are always in the same spot, as opposed to, sometimes if demolish wasn't an option, it wouldn't show up, and then you might misclick thinking it or accounting for it being there, that whole type of thing. So now it will just always show the demolish and rotate option in the hammer and just have them grayed out if it's not an option. So you can always know exactly where those hammer options are going to be because they'll stay the same every time. They've also got a reduced time, craft time for windows and window things. So basically, instead of being 30 seconds, it's now 15 seconds to craft wood shutters, all type of window bars, and window glass. So they just cut that craft time in half. They've also made it so bone is compostable. So you can do a little something else with the bone fragments instead of just having them pile up all over the place. And they're compostable into fertilizer at a ratio of 1 to 10. So you put 10 bone frags in, you'll get one fertilizer. They have no bait value, but it's a way to do something with your extra bones, which is nice. Also, in the realm of vendors, when you're looking around the map at vendors, it will now show in a little tooltip if there's a weapon for sale that has attachments, it will show what attachments that weapon has in the vendor UI overlay. So you can have a full insight into what that weapon is for sale and what specific attachments you're going to get, which is nice. They've also made it so that the last you used code option is now 2.5 times faster. So just to re enter that code, it just goes a bit faster. They also, with the electric furnace, removed the turn on and turn off side inputs. And now they're basically just going to be auto on if they have power. And this was one of those things to handle like server restarts where all these electric furnaces wouldn't turn back on after the server restart. It just is going to make it so that they will turn on because if they've got power, they're on, and you don't need to, specify the on and off options via the side inputs. They also, with the mixing table recipe list, increased it from 4 to 8 recipes shown at once. so you can just see more recipes, which is nice. Also, in addition with the mixing table, we saw this last week, is you can now craft HV ammo and incendiary ammo. If you have the blueprints, you can now craft them at the mixing table as well. And they've done some other UI tweaks to the mixing table also. So just some improvements there in the realm of mixing tables. Now, also with the laser detector, they increased the range to match the beam length. So it went from 4 to 12 meters. So you just get a longer laser detection range when using that detector, which is cool. Tesla coils and igniters now automatically heal themselves when under building privilege. Also, this is a cool one that was just added. It's not on this build of staging yet, but it does look like it's coming in as well, which is you can actually see the building guide of your teammates if you have your building plan open. So if you've got your building plan open and your teammate is building, you'll be able to see the blue and red kind of stuff on the map on what they're trying to place and where, which is cool. They also added a new input to the SAM site to toggle defender mode. So you can do that via an electrical pulse now. And they've done a number of industrial changes. They basically increased the industrial conveyor from 12 items to 30 items filters. I'm sorry, 30 item filters. It was 12. You can now do 30. They also increased the search menu size from 5 items to 24 items. And they made it so the conveyor filter menu is larger to show more items at once. And you can see that here. You can just see a lot more at once. So you can just do more with the filters and see more filters at once. They've also done a number of painting improvements. So this is for painting signs and the like, and that UI, that's all related to that. Basically, they made it so the sign painting UI follows UI scale option. So if you change your UI scale in the escape menu options, then that will now impact the UI of the drawing stuff, the art stuff. They also increased the max paintbrush size to 100, and they fixed paintbrush sizes less than 2 having gaps in them. And also, they did some changes to make it so that strokes, um, the overlapping of strokes was doing something. How do I even say this? So basically, it's making it behave more like a real painting app where you can't paint over somewhere that you already painted in the same stroke. And there's an example video of that. I'm realizing as I'm trying to speak it, it's not really making sense. But finish making strokes not overlap with themselves, which makes it difficult to use low opacity values. So I hope that makes sense for all you artists out there. And there is an example video on rustafied.com that you can click to kind of see this in action. There's also, as I mentioned before, changes to the no build volumes at monuments, and this just came in earlier today. So basically, they reduced the no build volume at Desert Military Base and Arctic Research Base, and they increased the no build volume slightly at Launch Site and Sphere Tank. And then they also did some changes so that all monuments, small monuments, I realize I've got a mistype on my article here because I was just filling this in real quick before we went live. But small monuments, no build volume has been increased and switched to a sphere collider. And bear with me, sorry a second, but I just had to fix that typo. I hate typos on my article, but they
And
do happen
I was going
sometimes.
to say, I'll take this opportunity to try with the opacity. So, as you can at the minute, what I think it is if you're going over the same part and using something that is 100% opacity, then you're going to see the strokes, whereas it should remember that you're doing it in one stroke and hopefully not keep going over the same bit, I believe, in the same click.
Yeah, thank you, Artemis, because I was really struggling. I'm like reading that
Yeah,
and it
I'm
made
sorry.
sense
I
in
was
my
trying to
head,
think how I could
but
help,
I'm
but
like,
yeah, there you go.
yeah, I'm like, shit, how the fuck do I explain this? Normally I'm pretty good with words, but with this one, I was just at a loss. So thank you, Artemis, for,
Oh yeah, yeah. No, obviously the grand drawing there.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Cool. And yeah, so back to the build volumes at monuments. So basically, small monuments, their no build volume has increased and switched to a sphere collider instead of whatever it was before. So Lighthouse has a 100-meter no build volume. Mining Outpost has a 70-meter. Supermarket, gas station, and warehouse all have a 100-meter as well. And this will ideally be more easily to visualize and see if they do also bring in that new effect for the update where you can actually, when you have your building plan out, actually really visualize the no build volume around each monument. So we'll let you know more on that as we get towards next week. They also did some helicopter collision changes. So basically, the idea was when you were driving on the ground in a helicopter before and you start going faster and hitting obstacles, it would deplete the health of the helicopter too much. So they basically changed it from it used to be 0 to 18 kilometers per hour, you would get no damage. And then at 18 kilometers per hour plus, you would take a minimum of, it would take away a minimum of 15% health, increasing with speed. So once you got over 18 kilometers per hour and you hit stuff, it was taking away a lot of health. So what they did was made it so now it's 0 to 25 kilometers per hour, you get no damage. And then if you're going 25 kilometers per hour or more in a helicopter on the ground, you take away a minimum of 5 health, increasing with speed and stuff like that. So damage from high speed crashes remains the same, but basically you get a little more flexibility to move that helicopter around on the ground without getting so much damage. Boy, okay, so that was a number of the quality of life changes. Now we've got a bunch of changes to fishing that has come in, and I'll try to summarize this the best I can, but man, it is a bunch of different changes here going on. So the fishing trap now uses the same fish selection and bait logic as the standard fishing rod, and there are still different catch options for freshwater and ocean water. And then the simple shark now requires a depth of 5.5 meters to fish. It was 5 meters before. And fish traps are now considered to be fishing at 5 meters, regardless of their location. So, regardless of where you put them in, it counts as 5 meters. And yeah. And then they added the ability for more than one lure item to be used at once when fishing. And this applies to worms and grubs up to a maximum of 3. So you can basically do a stack of 3 worms and grubs uh, to catch high value fish. And this is both on rods and traps. So you can no longer put items with no bait value into the fishing trap. And that's been the behavior of a fishing rod as well. And then it also is going to show the max stack bait size in the information panel when the bait is selected. So if you're dealing with some bait, you can see, exactly what you can stack it to. And then also the fishing trap now has a 50% chance of failing. So the bait will be consumed, but the trap will remain active. So if you're working with that, you might check back on a fishing trap and just see no bait because it's got a 50% chance of failing. And then they updated a bunch of bait values here. So all fish based food now has no bait value and cannot be used to catch more fish. So, like raw fish parts will not be used to catch more fish. Raw bear and wolf meat now has bait worth of 3. That was 5 before. Raw human meat now has a bait worth of, it was 10. Now I think it's 3. Well, it was 1, but in the commits, they changed it to 10 originally. Now I do believe they changed that back to 3. So I might need to update my article. Again, there's been so much stuff this week, it's hard to summarize it all, but we're doing our best. And all berries are now worth 1 bait. It was 0.5 bait, and they can be stacked up to 5. Raw human meat has a bait value. Oh, yeah, I put that in the wrong place. Yeah, raw human meat has a bait value of 3. Anchovy, herring, sardines, those have a bait value of 2 and can be used in stacks of 2. So you use 2 anchovies, you get a bait value of 4. Small trout, yellow perch, and that bait value is now 5 and can be used in stacks of 2. So you can use 2 of those to reach a bait value of 10. Catfish, small shark, salmon, orange roughy now have a bait value of 10 and are limited to 1 stack. And raw fish meat and spoiled human meat has a bait value of 0. And yeah, so the rationale kind of behind this is you can use smaller fish as bait to catch bigger fish with the risk of losing your bait and having to start from a small fish again. It's no longer allowing raw fish meat to be used as bait, so a large fish can't be gutted to restart the cycle. And the goal here is basically to introduce a risk element. Do you cash out with your medium fish or use it to bait and try to get a bigger and better fish? So, that I hope summarizes and makes sense some of the changes to fishing going on here. They've also done a number of fixes. I'm not going to go through all of them, but a cool one is fix the item split slider resetting every time you split an item. So that will hold its value. It will still reset if it'll still reset to half if you split off half or more of a stack. But if you're doing less than that, it'll save that value for your ease. They fixed oil rig not spawning on the top of the map as often as expected. They're doing some visual fixes to Bradley, and they're fixing some stuff with IO stuff and different slider values for audio stuff, and fix scrap heli not being drivable on the ground with control key anymore, and fix the scrap heli wheels not animating. And so just basically a bunch of miscellaneous fixes we're seeing coming in as well. And we'll, of course, summarize all of those in detail in our article next week, also prior to the update going live. And a couple other changes. SAM sites no longer target sleeping or kinematic vehicles. Kinematic vehicles, yeah. They also renamed the suicide option in the main menu to just respawn. I guess that's a little more politically correct these days, as opposed to suiciding. They're doing some work on the traveling vendor, and we saw a bit more work on bikes as well. Not sure if the traveling vendor or bikes are going to make it in for next week. I'm leaning towards no at this point because we're not seeing them on the normal staging branch, but I could be wrong. They've also done a little more work on the Blunderbuster, which is a new weapon. It's a single shot shotgun from the looks of it. But we haven't seen that get merged into any staging branch, so no visuals on that yet. And I'd say it's less likely now at this point, given we're a week away from the update, that we will see this new weapon come in the update. I do have a feeling we still could see the new SKS rifle come in for this update, but haven't gotten any confirmation on that.
Can I say
Also,
something real fast?
yeah, for sure.
I just want to remind people to add Miss D underscore, that's me, because I see a lot of people asking, and it's hard to see who is like, what's the question for? Yeah, if you want me
Yeah,
to read them out later after Box is done talking, then add my name, please.
cool. Yeah. So just a friendly reminder to do at Ms. D underscore that's me in chat. If you do have a question, you've got a better chance of getting your question answered if you tag Miss D. So yeah, not sure if the traveling vendor or blunderbuster are coming in, but we could see the SKS rifle come in next week. And then also we've got the hood and cuffs functionality, which is getting more and more flushed out. One of the interesting things here, if you're not aware, so it's the prisoner hood and handcuffs. And along with just the addition of 2 items, it looks like this has a whole new game functionality coming in with it based on the commits that we're seeing. It looks like there'll be some surrender option for a player. They'll get cuffed. It looks like if they get cuffed, then the person who is cuffing them will be able to see their inventory, but not take things from their inventory. They will be able to take things from their hot bar or their belt, but and also if you get cuffed, you'll no longer be able to move things from your belt to your inventory to say stop someone from taking it off your belt. And then also this week, what we're seeing is that there's kind of going to be potentially a mini game to get out of the cuffs. So you will have this ability to potentially uncuff yourself. And if you are cuffed, there's going to be no suicide option. Well, actually, there's no suicide option anymore anyway. It's called respawn these days, but you can't respawn if you are cuffed. You're basically just stuck there, and there'll potentially be some type of mini game that will give you the ability to get out. So this is definitely an interesting new functionality coming into the game. It's going to definitely change some dynamics with player interactions in certain cases. So, keeping an eye on that. No word when that's going to come out, given it's still getting things added to it and we're 1 week away from the update. I don't think we're going to see it for the June update, but we'll keep you posted, and maybe sometime in the summer we'll be able to, hood and cuff people in game. There's also a bit more work on crude gestures. No word on if those are coming in for the update next week, but it does look like that Hack Week project that had the ability for people to give a middle finger or double middle finger or the cranking middle finger or like the throat cut gesture, all that good stuff. Looks like it will be coming in to the game at some point, but not confirmed for next week. And then finally, we've got a bit more work on the Radtown Redux, which of course is that legacy inspired new monument coming in that kind of is a throwback to those old small and large rad towns from days gone by. But yeah, that is what we've got going on. A huge list of quality of life stuff. It looks like the team is still cranking on a bunch of quality of life stuff. So it is definitely uh, a challenging week to keep track of all this stuff. But what we're going to do, as we always do, is next week really nail down what has made it into the staging branch, what looks like it's making its way into the update. And on rustafied.com, we'll have a full summary in text and pictures of what you as a player can expect in the update. And of course, we'll be back here on Twitch, same time, same place, to let you know what's coming in the update, answer your questions, and also let you know exactly when the update comes out. Again, that is next week on June 6th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. Or is it BST these days? I forget.
It is, yeah, for now.
It is BST these days. Yeah. Time changes. Who knew?
It
But yeah,
does, yeah.
same time, same place next week. Basically, a week from today and a half hour from that point is when we'll see this update go live. And yeah, we'll keep you posted in the meantime. Definitely check us out on X. We got some shorts going live as well to show off some of this stuff. And yeah, Miss D, we got any questions from the audience we want to cover?
Yeah, we sure do. Since you just answered the question with the update is not until next week, what servers on the Rustafied is wiping today?
So yeah, because we have a 5 Thursday month, basically our bi-weeklies will wipe again today and have a 1 week wipe cycle. So the servers wiping today are the weekly and bi-weekly Thursday wipe servers, such your mains, mediums, trios, smalls, Zen Labs, solo, all that good stuff. And they're wiping at 3 p.m. local time for the region, which means actually most of them have already wiped. AU and SEA wiped 12, 13 hours ago. EU servers wiped 3.5 hours ago. And the US servers wipe in about 90 minutes, or a little less than that at this point, at 3 p.m. EST. And these are map wipes only today. And then again, with the mediums and trios, those bi weekly servers, they will just be a 1 week wipe cycle this week because everything gets forced wiped again next week with the update coming out.
Can you check how much damage a hammer hit does to a middle door?
Sure
Yeah,
can.
we could look at that real quick. The one thing with this salvaged hammer buff is I believe it was just focused on deployables you're going to find around the map. I don't think it's doing a lot more damage to
It's
building
true.
items
Yeah,
like
that's
base
right,
building.
actually. Yeah, for sure. I can definitely hit a metal door for you, but yeah, it's true what you're saying.
Yeah, we'll whack it a little bit for you, but really the big change you're seeing based on the commits with regards to the salvaged hammer is going to be with things around the map, like at junk piles with the barrels. Now it'll kill a barrel in 2 hits, where what was it, 3 hits before or something like that?
Yeah.
Mm, is attack heli getting cheaper rockets like submarine has torpedoes?
That I haven't seen anything about. So, not that I'm aware, but I'll keep an eye out for that. And also, I will admit, with the amount of miscellaneous quality of life and commits and fixes and changes we're seeing this month or this past week, it's very probable I did miss something in the mix here because it's rare that we have a week where there's so much miscellaneous stuff changing all over the place that yeah, it can be hard to track. But we're going to be working hard this coming week as well to see exactly what makes it into the update and get as accurate of a summary for you as possible. And again, we're not developers of the game. We're just fans of the game like you who love reporting on development news and running the best servers we can. And I will take an opportunity to thank you all for tuning in and supporting us each week because we really couldn't do this without you. So, to all the people who tune in and watch, people who give bits and subscribe on Twitch, and our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so very much for this support because, yeah, we wouldn't be able to run the servers we run, and I wouldn't be showing up here every week, week after week, if we didn't have that support. So, thank you guys.
Does the shift seed planting still, yeah, what, hold on. Does the shift seed planting still work when you can't reach all the plots in the planter, for example, if it's underneath a half height ceiling?
Yeah, I believe so. Based on what we were seeing, it basically when you hold shift, if you've got one seed going down in the planter and then you hold shift and you've got the seeds available, of course, in your inventory, then what it does is it has the like little building marker
Yeah.
thing for one seed turn into it propagates the entire planter wherever there's a spot. So that stands to reason that, even if it was kind of technically blocked from your access, it will still just fill in everything in those planters.
Was that painting you guys just showed pre-stroke update, or is it how the new stroke work?
This is pre, so it's not merged at the moment, but I was just trying to show at the moment you can't, if you're using something that isn't 100% opacity, then you can't kind of get a consistent stroke. It looks like you've gone over the same pieces like it has here. I think the update is going to change that so that it will all look the same uniform opacity, like you've done it in one go basically.
Yeah, so you can kind of scribble in a low opacity over a whole area and it'll still be the same opacity as a whole. Um, but again, if you go to rustified.com and scroll down in the quality of life area, there I do link to an example video of it, which I think summarizes it pretty good. And let me just copy that link address. I'll just paste the
I just
there we go.
posted it.
Yeah.
Oh, for face punch, gotcha.
Yeah, I just posted the actual MP4 link because that kind of gives you an idea of what they're talking about. See, if
That's it, yeah.
yeah, if it's low opacity, you can keep going over and over on the same click and it won't overlap itself. Yeah, one of those things that's very easy to visualize when you look at it, but man, try explaining it via words to people and poof.
Are we ready for the next question?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Hell yeah. Does Rustafied have an role player server, or would you consider having one with the success and popularity of Rust Kingdoms? I know it's not on your servers.
Yeah, we do not have a role play server. It's something that I've thought of time and time again because um, I I personally have had a lot of fun in role play things. Cue everyone saying filthy role player, but I think role playing can be a lot of fun, and this game is ripe for it. The thing is, with any new server, it's getting the momentum going such that it has popularity and can really go. It's kind of a chicken or the egg situation when you're starting a new server, especially if it's not on the official list. And so the long story short is I don't have any immediate plans to launch a roleplay server just because our main focus still is on our real bread and butter, which is the vanilla official servers. Anything is possible going forward, but for the time being, we're really just making sure that our vanilla official servers are running as well as possible, and we're getting rid of as many hackers as quickly as possible, and really just providing the optimal space to play the game in its vanilla fashion. And so, potentially something in the future. I do think roleplay servers are cool, but it's not on the agenda for us at the moment. We've got a lot of internal stuff we're working on with what we already have, and that's really our main focus this year is just improving the quality of what we already have instead of trying to take on something new.
Are there any new recipes for making food, or do you think they will add it in the future?
I think it's very possible we could see that added in the future. Wasn't that a whole Hack Week project anyway? But we never saw it come to fruition. Is that the
I think
Yeah,
case?
I
so.
think I heard
Yeah.
some too, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like 2 Hack Weeks ago, they were adding a whole bunch of recipes and they had different things, but we never saw that come to fruition. That actually reminds me as well. It does look like they're playing with potentially doing some changes with Rad Tea, but we haven't seen that really come to fruition either. So, yeah, as per your question, I do think it's very possible, if not probable, we could see that at some point in the future because we have seen a body of work around it in the past year, but we didn't see it come to production. So, I don't know when or even definitively if, but I think it's very probable.
Is there any hope of seeing the outpost redesign in the next patch?
I've been really looking forward to some previews of what that's going to look like. And I love the idea that they're redesigning some of these monuments and all that stuff. And uh, I, I'm excited to see it. That said, the monument stuff is really a large body of work because they're all bespoke, like handmade. And when you think about the monuments, there's so many little details and features around that to have. And very often it's just basically one or maybe two people working on it. So it can take a real long time actually because it's an intensive body of work to complete. So that's all to say I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the, sneak peeks of especially the new outpost, but I don't know that we'll see it for the patch next week, but hopefully we will.
Did they fix the new invalid projectile underscore far and invalids when shooting while flying, vice versa?
I believe I know they're aware of that. I'm not sure if that has been resolved, but I know it definitely is on the radar of the developers. So hopefully we do see some improvements with that with the update next week.
Any word on any new building blocks? I thought when they added spiral staircases, they said more base blocks were coming eventually. Eventually,
Yeah, and I think there are still some plan to come eventually, but I'm not seeing any work on that now. But yeah, when I think about the first dev blog of the year, I'm pretty sure they had a mention of that or two, but no, I haven't seen anything specifically on that in process. I think that's still kind of lower on the priority list versus what they're working on right now.
do you have any clue what all of the traveling vendor commits are about?
Well, so my idea of the traveling vendor based on the commits, what I'm seeing is that there's going to be this new vendor. It will travel, who knew? It'll basically find its way onto one of the main roads on the map, and then over time, it'll kind of move along that road. I Based on the commits, it's going to have like a vending machine functionality or something like that. So it looks like it could just be like a moving vending machine with like an NPC or something like that. And I think of certain other games like Red Dead 2 and like Fallout 76. This isn't the first game to introduce a traveling vendor. And when we think about other games, the traveling vendor tends to have a new inventory on some time period, like every day. There's a different inventory, or every week there's new special items in the inventory. And I don't know if that will be the case here, but I feel like it's very possible where this traveling vendor will not only move over time, but change what's in its stock over time. So it'll be kind of an opportunity to um, to travel around the map and get something that normally you might not be able to get at a vendor, maybe for a good deal as well.
I think we just need to add again that it's not force wipe today. I see a lot of people still asking about it. It
Yeah.
next week because it's 5 weeks in this month. So
Yeah, there's 5 Thursdays this month, and so the Force Wipe is not every fourth Thursday, it's every first Thursday of the month. So sometimes and oftentimes that's every fourth Thursday, but sometimes, like this month, it takes five. So yeah, June 6th, a 1 week from today, basically 1 week and 15 minutes from today is when the Force Wipe will occur. normal time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. BST. And we'll, of course, be back here, same time, same place next week to give you a full update summary and have the whole article on rustified.com as well, summarizing all this stuff. But no, it is not forced wipe today. It is just another wipe. And for Rustified servers, we are wiping the weekly and bi weekly Thursday wipe servers. And then the bi weekly wipe servers will just have a 1 week wipe cycle, and everything will wipe again next week.
And these days we can't do an update stream without a hacker question, right? So,
Nope, we can't.
is Facepunch... Wait, hold on. Will Facepunch do anything against the ESP problem? There's also people who used mouses which can add script to it and no anti-cheat can detect it. Can you solve this for us?
Oh, good old bloody mouse. So the deal with hacking, and this is just my sense of it right now, because it changes every week, every month. It's an ebb and flow. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. FacePunch is working with EAC pretty proactively. I'd say more proactively than we've seen at previous points in time. They are now working with EAC to remove hackers quicker from the game. They don't go into details with us and with the community as a whole because it's a cat and mouse game. And if they were to show their hand on what they're doing, then that actually empowers the hackers to get around it quicker. So it is this kind of cloak and dagger kind of ambiguous thing. And thankfully, last month we did see, and in the past several weeks, I have seen EAC taking action quicker on certain clear hacking accounts. So I have seen a number of cases where EAC is acting quicker than they did before, which is nice and indicative of FacePunch working with them to improve what's going on. That said, EAC seemed like it pumped their stuff up into a higher gear and started doing things quicker, but it only took a couple days before it seemed like the hackers came back with even more and more fresh accounts. So again, this ebb and flow thing, we have seen a large influx of hackers in the past couple of weeks, and on top of that, Rust is for sale again, and use your imagination there on what that can do for other accounts and hacker accounts coming in. Um, but I'll call a spade a spade. The situation is still fucked. The hacker situation is still really bad. It's nice to see improvements from EAC, but it's too little and potentially too late. So we need more improvements from EAC. The fact that the onus of getting rid of all these hackers falls on the server owner and the moderators, quite frankly, is um, not very viable. It's just unworkable to have the onus fall on us, given the lack of tools that we have to combat these hackers. Think of how long it takes to load into a server. So if I see someone that has, granted, if they've been on the game for 2 hours, it was in count first seen today, and they're 40-1, it's like I don't even need to spectate that motherfucker. We just ban him, right? Like clear hacker. But if we got someone who's evaded the system for a little while, in fairness to them, I can't just assume they're a hacker. They might be a good player. So we got to spectate them. So imagine this. We got to load into the game, load into a server, spectate the player, and then wait for them to show that they're hacking. They could be AFK in their base for an hour before that. They could be just roaming, chopping trees, not hacking.
Or stop hacking
And
because someone calls them
or
out in chat.
yeah, or they can sense and know that an admin is connected in some instances and then just not hack. And so the idea that we got to get rid of all these hackers, it's insane. Now, granted, we work really hard. I'm in Discord pretty much every day, take fielding reports, trying to get rid of hackers as quick as possible. My team is doing the same, and we just brought on more team members. We've got third-party anti-cheat, which we've been using for over a year now. We've got in-house anti-cheat that I've spent thousands of dollars to develop, and we're still developing and working on, and doing all this stuff when the fact of the matter is EAC has been paid to do this. It's a company literally in business to get rid of hackers, and they've been paid for 10 years by Facepunch to do this. And my assertion is they haven't ever fucking done their job right. So I'm trying to continue to be patient with it, but I'm also not going to blow smoke up all your all's asses. This is a problem. It's been a problem. We have limited tool sets and ability as server owners to do this, and we absolutely are doing our best. And I'm investing money in other options to do better in lieu of EAC doing their fucking job. But it's not a great situation right now. And we're doing our best. And I really do hope EAC continues to improve. I know they're working on it. I know Facepunch is working on it. But, you know, we need more. We need better. We need them to do a better job. So hopefully they do. In the meantime, I'm going to keep doing the best I can and try not to lose my fucking sanity because it really does weigh on you when it's just constant, you know, reports of hackers and then people coming in Discord saying, "Oh, your server's shit. It's full of hackers." It's like, well, that's the game, brother. That's the fucking game, and we're doing the best we can. But yeah, that's what's going on with hackers. That's my sermon on hackers for this week. Amen.
More to come next week. Anyways, let's do a recap. And if anyone have questions, do add Misty underscore. That's me, and we do a little bit more after Box is done with the recap.
Yeah, so a real quick recapity cap here. There is a lot going on in quality of life. The update is next week. Basically, 1 week from today, we should see the update in Force Swipe come out on June 6th. And what we're seeing, we're over here on the aux branch. No, we're over here on the normal staging branch. Some of the stuff is on aux 2, so not confirmed it's all coming in for the update, but it does look like most of the stuff is coming in. We're going to have barricades be allowed to be placed at monuments. There's going to be a baked in disconnect grace period of 5 minutes for if you get disconnected. Horses can go in reverse, they can go backwards, and armor has been buffed on them, so the armor doesn't slow them down as much as before. You can access lower tier workbenches from higher tier ones. So tier 3 workbench can now access tier 1 and tier 2 tech tree stuff. The tool cupboard will block storage of sulfur ore, sulfur, gunpowder, explosives, diesel, cameras, and laptops. So they're calling that quality life, but that's a change. There's going to be some visualization for around monuments and caves to see where building is blocked when you have your building uh, plan out. Helicopters will have an automatic handbrake when they're parked. So if you park a helicopter and get out of it on a slope, it hopefully won't slide down said slope. There's slacking for wires. So the electrical wires, if you hold shift and scroll your mouse wheel, you'll be able to add some cool slackety slack in there, which is a nice effect. It doesn't change anything utility wise, but it's a nice little effect. You can also fill all planters by just pressing the or holding the sprint button while you're filling one planter. It'll fill all planter slots with the selected seeds, which is nice. They made the medium battery a little smaller, so they reduced the size so it fits underneath half walls, and then it's balanced a little bit better against large batteries. They buffed the salvaged hammer, so it now destroys every barrel in 2 hits, which is nice. There are skin names on the repair bench, so you can see what the name of the skin is on the repair bench. There's some improvements to the hammer UI where it will always show the demolish and rotate option, even if it's not available, it'll just be grayed out. And the idea here is it will reduce misclicks because all the options on the hammer radio menu will stay in the same spot always now, which is nice. They've reduced the craft time of windows. So instead of 30 seconds, it's 15 seconds to craft things like wood shutters, all type of window bars, and window glass. They have made bone compostable. So drop bone in a compost thing and it'll turn into fertilizer at a ratio of 10 to 1. There's no bait value there. There are now the ability to, if you're selling a gun at a vendor or interested in buying a gun that's at a vendor, you can see in a tooltip what attachments that gun has. The entering last code used on code locks is 2.5% faster. They remove the on-off side inputs for electric furnaces, so now they'll just auto power on if they have electricity, and that's to help with better functionality at server restarts. They did double the size of the mixing table recipe list from 4 to 8. And also, this was a last week thing, but at the mixing table, you can now, if you have the blueprint, craft HV and incendiary ammo. They increased the laser detector range to match the beam length. It was 4, now it's 12 meters of range. Tesla coils and igniters now automatically heal themselves while under building privilege. They show building guide of teammates. Basically, if you have a building plan out and your teammates building stuff, you'll be able to see the blue and red kind of building guides as they're working on it, which is cool. They added a new input into SAM sites to toggle defender mode. And they did some industrial changes. You can now have 30 item filters. You can now, uh, the search menu size is increased to 24 items from 5. And they made the whole conveyor filter menu larger to show more items at once, which is a nice thing. They also did a number of painting improvements to the painting UI. It matches the UI scale option and the escape options now. They increased the max paintbrush size to 100. They fixed paintbrush sizes less than 2 having gaps in them. And they made it so that when you're working on lower opacities and you start painting, if you keep the mouse button down and go all over the place, those strokes won't overlap each other as long as it's the same mouse click. And there's an example of that on rustafied.com if you need more information on that. But just some improvements overall to the painting experience and UI. They did a bunch of changes to no build volumes at the monuments. So they reduced the no build volume at Desert Military Base and Arctic Research Base, and they increased the no build volume slightly at Launch Site and the Sphere Tank. Also, small monuments, their no build volume has increased and switch to a sphere collider. So lighthouse, supermarket, gas station, warehouse are all 100 meter. Mining outpost is 70 meter. They made some changes to helicopter collision. So basically you can drive faster on the ground while taking less damage than before. So your helicopter won't get destroyed as quick when you're driving on the ground. They did a whole bunch of changes to fishing. Basically, they made it so the traps now work a lot like the fishing rods. They made it so that you can stack worms and grubs to a maximum of 3 and use those on both rods and traps. They changed a lot with the bait values. I'm not going to run through them all again, but we have all the updated bait values and all the changes to fishing on rustified.com. Really, at the end of the day, here, the rationale was to use smaller fish to bait and catch bigger fish, and the risk there is losing your bait and having to start from a small fish again. So you catch a small fish, you can get a medium, you can use a medium to catch a large, but you risk losing your medium if you don't catch a large. And you can no longer use raw fish meat as bait. So basically, a large fish can't be gutted and used to restart the cycle. So it basically adds an element of risk in there. And that's good stuff. They've done a bunch of fixes. One of the main ones is they fixed the split slider resetting. Every time you split an item, it will still split. It'll still reset if you take half off, but otherwise it'll go back to wherever you had the split there. There's some fixes for visuals for Bradley that look like they're coming in, so Bradley might look a little better. And they fixed oil rig not spawning on the top of map as often as expected, and a bunch of other miscellaneous little fixed things. They made it so SAM sites no longer target sleeping or kinematic vehicles, and they renamed suicide to respawn in the main menu. So no more suicide option. It's just a little more politically correct now, and you'll just respawn. And there's more work on a bunch of other upcoming things. I don't think many of these are going to come for the update next week, given we're only 1 week away and they're not on staging yet. But there's more work on the traveling vendor, on the blunderbuster or blunderbuss, which is a new weapon, kind of a single shot shotgun kind of thing. There's more work on the hood and cuffs, even a mini game there where you'll be able to, you won't be able to suicide if you're cuffed, or respawn, should I say. You won't be able to respawn if you're cuffed, but there's a mini game to kind of get out of the cuffs. And when you're cuffed, someone can kind of see your inventory, but they can't take it, but they can see and take things out of your belt bar, your hot bar. So there's also more work on crude gestures. So maybe in the near future, you'll be able to give a double middle finger to that, you know, roof camper down the way. I don't know. And then finally, some more work on the Radtown Redux Monument, which is, of course, a throwback to the legacy days of the old, good old large and small rad towns. And we're going to see those at some point in the near future. But again, I don't think a lot of that stuff is going to make it in for the update next week because it is just 1 week away and they're not on staging yet. But that about does it for our recap. and
Oh,
Misty
wrong.
fell asleep.
No, I was pushing the wrong buttons.
Yeah, I'm like, wait for it. I know it was a long recap, but I tried to get through quick.
Yeah, I'm snoring here. Okay. Is it too early to ask for Charitable Rust news?
Oh, no, good call. It's not too early for that. Charitable Rust is going to be happening mid-October, like second weekend in October from the looks of it. I'm got to confirm the date, but we are working with several parties on updating the map and everything like that. We're about ready to announce which charity we're supporting. It is a charity we've supported before. It's around, providing relief to people in conflict zones and bad zones around the world. But we need to confirm that. There's still some talks to be had. But basically, we're still planning Charitable Rust for mid October. We're going to have a bunch of Twitch drops and skins to purchase, the proceeds of which, of course, go to the charity as well. And we're working with map creators to have a similar experience to last year where it's a 2x vanilla gameplay, but then there's also safe zones around the map where you can go and do different things like the art contest and the talent show and parkour challenges and various other things like that. So we are planning on having this be the biggest and best charitable Rust ever. If you're not familiar, Charitable Rust over the past 9 years has raised over $1.3 million for various different charities. And I'm really looking to bring that number over 1.5 million this year and even ideally even higher. And yeah, really excited about it. So we'll have some more information over the next couple of weeks on Charitable Rust, but do mark your calendars for mid. I should really have my calendar up and just know the date. But if you bear with me for a second, we go over to October 12th. That's going to be it. October 12th and 13th, most likely, is going to be Charitable Rust. So mark your calendars. And yeah,
And
that's about it.
yeah, and with that, I actually just thought, is there a way for people to apply if they want to help with Charitable Rust or no?
There normally is charitablерust.com. And if you go there, which I'm trying to now, I believe we had a form for, but I'm not managing the site anymore, so I'm not sure. Frequently asked questions, maybe. Yeah, it might not be open yet. Um, but you know what? I'll get some more information. We do have some streamer portal stuff open and everything like that too. If you look in facts, but I'll organize myself a little more over the next week or two. We'll probably have an announcement next week for the forced wipe on Charitable Rust. Because yeah, it is about time to officially announce that and get that moving forward. It's friggin' basically June already over here. I
Yeah,
don't know
time
where this
goes
year went.
fast.
Yeah, this year in particular, I'm like, this year's half over. Are you kidding me? What? Can I get a refund or something? I don't know. But anyway, that's Charitable Rust.
Is there any updates on the attack heli?
The basically just the stuff with regards to the collision changes when you're driving it on the ground and the handbrake when it's parked, because I'm pretty sure that's the case for minicopters and attack. Um, they're just going to auto handbrake, but no. Other than that, I'm not aware of any other changes to the attack heli. And also, if you're talking about the patrol helicopter, the server event, not the player-driven thing, there's also I don't think any changes to that. And I will acknowledge it is confusing that there was a server event that many people call the attack heli, and then they added a
An
player
actual,
driven
yeah.
helicopter called the attack heli, and nothing's ever been the same since. But
And and then we have
but
mini
yeah,
heli.
and then mini, yeah, and I can't even keep
Server
Yeah.
track of
heli
all
is
these
heli
things.
heli. That's how you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
heli
Well,
heli,
I
heli
I've been
heli.
trying to stick to like patrol heli for the server event
Yeah,
heli,
yeah.
but good luck with that. Anyway, no, I'm not aware of any changes with that. I'll double check and we'll have more information if there is any on the article and stream next week.
Yep. I think that's it, Bugs.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you for the support. We are an independent organization. We're not the developers of the game, and we're not on the Face Punch payroll. We're just fans of the game like you who love reporting on development news and run the best servers we can. And the only way we can do that week after week, month after month, year after year, is through the support of you. So to everyone who watches, gives bits, subscribes on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so very much. And Artemis and Miss D, thank you as always for being my co-MCs.
You're welcome.
Yeah, as always, you're welcome.
And with that, we will wind this puppy down. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, to give you all the information you need on what's coming in the update and let you know exactly when that update goes live, which again should be basically exactly 7 days from now, 1 week from now. And so we'll be back. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.